Hello, we're here. Another episode of Hero Select. Dogman is our guest for today. We had some trouble getting live on Twitch, but that got fixed. It was the servers are going a little wonky, I'm assuming, under the load. Speaking under the load of quarantine, your hair, Dogman.
Oh, come on, man.
Your hair is looking mighty shaved, and as you can see, you will see it later, but my background's also reflecting that shaved hair of yours. How much money did you end up raising for the COVID-19?
Oh, I don't know. I just did my own thing.
You just did your own thing. Okay, you just made a donation once you hit that goal. That's how it was.
Yeah, just a quick 100 donation. That was it.
Okay, wait, that's fine.
We tried to make it a thing, but it didn't really get traction. So
some people just don't want to see you shave that badly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
I think.
I did my own sub goal, but I only had a couple hours of stream, so it's just like a quick 100 sub goal, and then I just wanted to get off.
Hey, well, it worked out anyways. You have a nice new shaved head. But we're not here to talk about your head all day. We're here. The purpose of Hero Select is to talk about the players and the personalities and the people we bring on. So we're gonna go, but we have a very formulaic start, Mr. Bowerman. It is Bowerman, right? That's how I say it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it is Bowerman.
Bowerman, yeah. So we have a formulaic start. So the first question I always ask is the big three, which is why, when, how. Explain, and this pertains to Overwatch. So why Overwatch?
Okay.
For when you were first, let's say you're first coming to this game, because you've been around for a while. You've been around as long as I have. I think maybe even longer potentially. You've been since 2016. I'm not sure, but why Overwatch and what? Because you were when Overwatch came out when it was 2016. How old were you at the time? It was
I was 18.
18. So why Overwatch out of all? Because there were other games available. I've had this. I asked the same question. It's like, why choose Overwatch when you have games like CS:GO, League of Legends, things like that are like available for other people that want to go pro in esports at the time? Yeah. Why Overwatch?
Yeah, those games are hard to go pro in, man. I don't know.
They're hard to go pro in. That's your.
Honestly, no. It's just because there was this game. So right after, in high school, I was in the work program. Have you heard of the work program?
I mean, there are all sorts of types of work programs.
Yeah,
you mean just like you were in a co-op where like you went to school and then also worked at the same time?
Yeah, in high school I was in the work program, but instead of getting a real job, I was in like this DECA state officer thing, which is like the marketing club for kids in high school pretty much. And I was in like the state version of that. Like I was a state officer, quote unquote. So that means because so DECA was hooked up with the work program, and because I was a state officer in DECA, I could just do the work program and not have to go to work, So I could just come home.
So wait, you were in the work program, but you wouldn't go to work?
Yeah, exactly. Instead, I would go to school for 3 hours and come back and just play Counter-Strike. So, so I was literally just hard grinding Counter-Strike until I realized, maybe this game is incredibly difficult to go pro in.
So that's why. Okay,
so the whole point of that was because I was in the work program and because I was grinding Counter-Strike. After I was done with high school, Doom 2016 came out back then, and I was convinced that Doom 2016 was going to be the next big thing. And
Doom,
and nobody else.
No one else
was, dude. I was so convinced this game was gonna. It was so much fun. I loved it, and nobody else liked it besides me.
Oh, Slasher liked it, sort of.
The single player, the multiplayer was what I thought was gonna pop the fuck off. Or wait, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you're allowed to cuss. We can cuss. Okay. It's my show. I can do whatever I want. So
okay, nice. So that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
No, what was I saying? So that game didn't pop off, and I was watching our boy. You remember Grego, right?
I do remember Grego.
Yeah, Cloud9 Grego.
He's like he has a beautiful Fabio locks. I think he still has them.
Yeah, he probably does. Me and him were boys. Or actually, I was just a fan of his, honestly, before Overwatch came out. Him and Reaver.
So
I saw them playing in fucking Reaver. But what is it? So I just watched them, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll give this game a chance once it goes open beta, And I tried it, and I just immediately thought it was fun, the FPS aspects, the Widow. I thought I could go pro in it. That was the only reason I played Overwatch, just because I wanted to play a game professionally, and it just happened to be the game that was the one I was playing when I'd turned 18, So it was just perfect timing. It was a new game. Not many people were going to be that good,
The perfect storm.
I was the perfect storm. Yeah, exactly. It's I was looking for a game to go pro in pretty much since before I was 18, because I was okay, you need to be 18 to play professionally in a video game, right? That just I don't know, like you can be underage in some games, I think, like in Counter-Strike, but you have to deal with school and
yeah. I mean, you have there are options. I mean, like I think it was. There's definitely very notable Dota 2 players that were very young too, that like went to TIs and stuff like that. So I mean, it just depends on how it's set up, right? If it's like generally, it's like the difference between the franchise system and the non-franchise. But this was really 2016. I think it was just really getting ramping up with that franchise. So like it was sort of the Wild West still. But okay, so you wanted to go pro. 2016. That's you were skipping out on your work program essentially, but not really. You were just going home and grinding Counter-Strike.
Yeah, exactly.
And your whole point was to go pro, and so Overwatch was the game. So were you always drawn to flex support from the beginning of your career, or was it DPS? Because a lot of players, including myself, they start at like a different role, and then they either find themselves into a different role, like last episode was McGravy. He used to be DPS, and he moved to off tank because they needed one. For myself, it was like main support earlier on in my career. Like, was it always flex support? Was it DPS? Like, which way did you go? Originally?
Oh yeah, I mean I was a DPS player at the beginning, like a hit scan player. I played a lot of McCree and Widowmaker and stuff. And then like I think I was just realizing that so many teams did not need hit scan DPS players. Like there were no openings, at least in like the higher up teams, the tier 1 teams. Like would you consider Method back in the day a tier 1 team?
I mean, Method when they went to E-League was insane, because also we were gonna bring up Method at some point when we get to 2016, but like. Method, when they went to E-League, and that's where Wolf, we got scouted to go to C9 and stuff, they were pretty good at E-League. Now, before that and after that, I would say they were pretty not very good. They were kind of garbage tier, but like, up to that point, they were good at one point.
Yeah, so like pretty much what happened was like I was playing on teams as like a hit scan player, and like my one opportunity to like play as a hit scan player for my career didn't work out. It was when I think Tempo Storm happened back in the day. When there was like my team was called
CLG. That CLG? Yeah, I was gonna bring that up actually, because we have that list of teams. Generally, you're doing the timeline. You're doing the timeline for me here. But here we'll move forward then. Okay, so DPS the flex support, and that's how it's going to roll, because you found that you only really had one shot, which was CLG at one point. So let's talk about the very first method. Yeah, so let's talk about the very first team ever, and the first record I have of you being on a team, and this is generally how Liquipedia goes, is something called Flaming Dragons.
Oh god!
That was the Agents Rising tournament, which was the one, that very first LAN tournament, right? And like it was like $10,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a decent bit of money. I mean, I was not gonna have a shot for that money.
But that was your very first team. Was that LAN, that opening LAN event for Overwatch called Agent Rising?
Yeah. I literally went to Reddit, and I asked like Redditors to this event, and I was just, and then these guys hit me up, and I was like, we have 2 spots on support. And then I just decided to go to that event.
Who was on that team? Was there anyone that is notable at all, or were they just people that are gone entirely? Because I wanted to go to Agents Rising as well, and I was gonna do it with like Indust, who was around for a little bit, who was an old TF2 player, and like there was like Carnage and like all of them. Like I was potentially looking at that. But so none of those guys are around at all, Agents Rising, because I don't even remember that team, honestly.
Well, Carnage was there, but nobody from Flaming Dragons was there. That was just like literally a random team name because the guy liked the movie. I don't remember what the movie's called, actually. I didn't even watch the movie, but it's apparently a reference to some sort of movie, like a comedy movie. And I don't know. I went with them. I was actually, what was gonna happen, so this could have actually set up my main like hit scan career like pretty well. So Calvin was there, obviously.
Of course, I know Calvin. Yeah,
my boy. So he was there, and he was like really good at Widowmaker, I think, at the time, or something like that. Or you could even run double McCree, I think.
Back in the day, that was still, there was no hero limit, so you could actually run as many McCrees as you wanted. You could run 6 McCrees for all they cared.
Yeah, well now you can with that go, I guess. But not back then. So pretty much back then, I was going with these guys, Flaming Dragons, and then a couple days before the event, Calvin's like, "Hey, we have a spot on our team for you to come play." And then I could have been a legit hit scan player with Calvin, me and Calvin duoing at that event, and we could have actually like done well, like that event. Like I think my McCree at the time wasn't like insane or anything, but like nobody was that good, right? Like
no, people were very bad.
Ass.
Everyone was very bad back then. But that's how all games go. Generally, most people start out really bad and it gets better. So you lost your shot at DPS essentially because you didn't take that there. Except you had another chance earlier in 2016 because you go through a couple teams, right? So you You literally went to Reddit. You found Flaming Dragons early 2016, having no connections previously. Because I'm assuming you had 0 connections to that team at all, right? Like for the most part.
No.
It was just a Reddit post, and you like respond to the post like, okay, I'm gonna do this team. So moving in 2016 after that, you were on a bunch of teams comparatively to a lot of players. Like you were on Elevate, you were on Sea Algae, obviously, then you were on like Method for a little bit, then Citizen 7. So how did that transition from the Flaming Dragons to the next set of teams, like Elevate, Sea Algae, Method, all that? Like how does that transition exactly go?
I mean, it just goes from like looking for every tryout that I could realistically. I mean, just like,
and these are like Discord posts,
people, Discord posts, Reddit posts, Twitter posts, you know, all the thing, you know, whenever teams posted like, oh, we're doing a tryout or whatever, I would try to contact them and that kind of thing. You know, it's just like looking everywhere I could for a tryout or something or along those lines, because realistically, you know, we have to keep working your way up. And I was playing with, my teams weren't bad per se, and it's you know, not a toxic thing to always look for a better team, in my opinion. So I was always looking for just a better team to play on.
Oh, so you were essentially trying to team hop the entire time.
I was trying to, because nobody wanted to, because not all the teams, people wanted to, like, people had school obligations and all that kind of stuff, you know, and I just wanted to find a team that was committed and we're good. So I was looking for those two things, because most of the teams, when you're working your way up in tier 3, most of those guys aren't full-time, right? Like, they're not going to be playing Overwatch 24/7. They have lives and they have jobs and stuff they have to commit to. And I did. So I wanted to find people that also had no life. And
do you think that experience has changed a lot? Like, you know, you talked about you were doing the team hop, that responding to Discord. I remember that time as well. Do you think that for current players, and like even as we go further into other esports beyond, like we, you know, maybe like Valorant as the next game to come out, or, you know, whatever it may be, do you think that process for players has shifted significantly, where you're no longer going onto Reddit and saying responding to team posts or Discords, like looking for teams? Like, do you think it's like gotten so, especially with Overwatch because of the path to pro, has it gotten like super segmented, you feel, as if like there is no organic part to it? It's like you have to sort of just follow the system and that's how you do it?
I mean, I'm sure there is, realistically. Like, I think maybe for me or for you, if for example we wanted to go professional in Valorant, we would have, I mean, everything's connection based, so like realistically we'd be known. People that go professionally in a game, in my opinion, I think realistically, like, you can expect them to, you know, to have the same drive or motivation to do it again, even, you know? I mean, obviously not everybody's done it twice, you know, like Bishu has, and some of these players that have played professionally in other esports.
Because counterexample, we had Steel, if you remember Steel, and Steel was not the best Overwatch play.
Steel was some poo-poo, I'm not going to lie. I love Steel.
Steel was not good.
He was hilarious to play with. He was hilarious to play with. I played on a team with him and Sinatra, actually, for like literally like 3 weeks, I think, or something like that.
Was that wasn't Splice, was it?
No, this was some random team. We just literally, that was the first time I've ever seen Sinatra. He was like a Tracer player back then. Tracer Genji. Actually, he's mainly Genji back in the day. But anyway, I think like realistically, so sorry to go back to your like first point with like how people go professionally. This is like, I'm talking about like in general, not for like us, I think. I think for like other like random people.
For the plebeians, of course. Not us, of course. I'm just making fun of you. I know. I get what you're going for. I get what you're going for.
It actually does. Like, realistically, like people that did have to grind like we did at some point, you do have to kind of just go outside the box, you know? You don't have, if one option is not working, you're not just gonna sit there and be like, oh man, I'm shit out of luck right now, you know? This one option where I'm trying to ask for a team isn't like, what the hell, man, it's not working. Like, you're not just gonna sit on that one option forever. You gotta like do shit. You can't just do nothing. Like, you can't just sit there and complain like a little bitch. You got to actually do something about it, you know?
Yeah, you do have to do the grind. You have to hit the grind. It's a lot harder, I feel, to get known than it is to be known, which is the truth. It's like, which is also why you hear stories all the time of people losing the passion. They just like collect the paycheck and they leave and type of shit, because it's a way harder to get from no clout to clout and stay at clout than it is to like actually be there in the first place. It's way harder, and I 100% agree. But you brought up earlier that you didn't have a life that you were doing in 2016. You didn't have any work, life, or school. But I remember distinctly that there were stories you told that you did have school. So do you think there was a trouble for yourself at all? And I don't remember when this happened. Was this in 2016 or 2017 when this happened, where that work-life balance between like going pro caused isures for you? How exactly did that manifest?
I think it was between 2016 and 2017, or a mixture of both, kind of. Where like, I think, so I was living with my parents, and then like I was trying to go professional, slash playing collegiate and that kind of stuff or whatever. But pretty much I got kicked out of my house because I was trying to play Overwatch like professionally. And my parents didn't really see it at the time because, you know, they just have this kid that's in their house just playing Overwatch 24/7 that's not making any money. There's no, or maybe if he is making money, it's not very much. So like they just kind of saw me as like a not like a deadbeat at the time, but like I was wasting my time there pretty much because they gave me the option to go to school or get kicked out of the house. So I kind of just lied, to be honest with you. It was bad, dude.
You just lied.
I literally said, I literally photoshopped my grades like to
that's
my parents'
inventive.
Face. No, it's terrible.
But that's bad. But
that.
children watching this don't do that though. Don't do that.
No,
but it is inventive.
Bro, the amount of anxiety and stress that I dealt with, that I put on myself, to be fair, well, it was like a mixture of things. Like, sure, it wasn't like I could have done so many other things, but like they did give me the like an ultimate, not ultimatum. Is ultimatum? Like they pretty much just told me
ultimatum.
Go to college and get kicked out of the house, and that's like not the best ultimatum, right? That's kind of a dick ultimatum, and they realized that later. But at the same time, like my alternative was to, instead of trying my hardest at school, try my hardest at Overwatch and just straight up lie to their face. and eventually show them, you know, the grades. And then they found out like 6 months in, they didn't find out until like a year later. And a year later, they noticed I was lying, and then they just literally booted me out the house. But at that point, I was fortunate enough to have gotten at least to a sizable point where everybody knows Carter Overwatch in the scene. That guy gave me a place to stay for 6 months in Utah.
Oh, I thought it was Calvin that you lived with.
No. Calvin stayed with me before I got kicked out of the house.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
I helped him out before I couldn't help myself. I booted.
So you would so looking back on that experience now and reflecting upon, you know, what maybe similar players might be feeling for the current path to pro system, right? Because even though it's changed, like we talked about, it's still, you're not getting paid money. Would you say that was the ideal method of focusing solely on Overwatch and lying? You know, obviously not the lying is good, but, you know, just putting everything you can and saying there's no balance between your life. It's just only Overwatch, right? Is that the ideal method? We're not saying the methods were good, right? Like the way you went about it, but is that the ideal method you think for players to make it professionally? Is they have to do that? They have to go all out? Or is there a possibility to maintain that balance? Because I had a balance, but it was also still not great. It was still a really tough balance. And it was also put an insane amount of pressure on me too at the time. Do you feel like they have to go all out like you did? Or is there a balance there possible?
I'm sure there can be a balance, and I think realistically that's what we're trying now, is to find a balance between like playing professionally and, you know, living a healthier lifestyle than most gamers live. And I'm still trying to find that balance to this day, you know, between when the quarantine wasn't happening, you know, working out and all that kind of stuff. But back then, I mean, like even now for people that are trying to make it professionally, I'm not too sure. Like I think realistically, if you want to make it professional in a video game, like you gotta just give it your all. Like whether that's towards content creation or whatever, or playing professionally. If you want to do something in the scene, you know, you can't realistically, in my head, like do other shit. Like, I mean, like you can find that balance, but I think the thing is, it's incredibly difficult. Like even now, in my opinion, like I'm not that good naturally at video games, in my opinion. Like I'm not some god tier gamer, you know? Like it's not like genetically I probably don't have that genetics, you know? So my strategy is the Jimmy Butler way, which is, for anybody who knows him in the NBA, the dude literally just grinds his ass off and just plays a crap ton of basketball or whatever he needs to do and just puts in the work. So that way is the way that I find improvement. I'm sure people find improvement other ways, but I find when I am sitting down and I just play the game 24/7 and I put in the work, I play my best. And I think that's true for anybody realistically, is that even if you're not naturally gifted at the game, you can be good if you just put in the time, you know?
So to boil it down, everyone's different essentially is what we're hearing there. Yeah. But I do agree with your sentiment in that. Because even though I would argue I had a better balance than you when I was doing it, it still was a lot. And it's not uncommon. Your story isn't uncommon. Maybe the photoshopping grades is uncommon, but the whole dropping a lot of the other aspects of your life to focus on the grind is extremely common in the rest of esports too, because it just requires an insane amount of dedication and time. And people don't realize it's not just about playing too. It's about always being available for those opportunities. Like the opportunities, like you go on Discord and you see a post for a team and you're like, I should try out for this team. Like I need to message this guy right away before anyone else does. Like it's not even just about the playing. It's about the clawing your way up to get to the point where like you're finally potentially going to make some money and have some names. So okay, well 2016, the formative periods of Dogman and his struggle there with his balance between the work and life and the grind and his method of grinding. So 2017, you sort of had this time. So the first team in 2017, it looks like.
Oh wait, you get this. Wait, can I stop you real quick?
What's up?
I will mention back in 2016, I was literally when I was trying to go pro in the very beginning, I was drinking like 3 like fucking 42 ounces of fucking Mountain Dew from the gas station like every day. What? So I just wanted to mention that.
Is there like a point to that, or you just want to say that you?
No, I just wanted to. Yeah, I just wanted to brag about my heart condition.
Oh, okay.
Not heart condition, but like literally, I wanted to brag about me killing myself.
Okay, so it was like elk, where like elk's like, yeah, I take like 800 grams of caffeine a day or whatever.
Yeah, you're bragging about poisoning.
Which is absurd. Which is absurd, and also I don't even believe that. But like that's besides the point. So 2017.
Yeah, you can continue.
So we've moved past the Mountain Dew era, or maybe you're still in the Mountain Dew era. So Splice.
No, not anymore.
So Splice. Yeah. That seems to be the first team in 2017. And is that your first time getting paid in Overwatch? Is with Splice?
Oh, I didn't get paid.
You didn't get paid at all with Splice? As in like they didn't pay, or you just didn't have a contract?
I didn't have a contract. I was playing for them for like a couple months. I get a contract, but then we got dropped, I think. So it was like I didn't. We got dropped. So you guys didn't
get paid at all. Like that's not even like a contract.
No,
that just sounds like you guys didn't pay.
They got paid like Baby Bay and Graceful and Michael. They all got paid.
But you were still with them for a couple months and you didn't get paid though, right?
I didn't get a contract ever.
Well, that's the Dogman. I'm going to tell you that is the equivalent of not getting paid, okay? Because you didn't get a contract while playing for them. So that's okay. Oh, well, that's fucked up. Is what I'm going to say. That's fucked up. And but your story isn't even uncommon because it happens to players all the time, and they're too afraid to say anything. Because I imagine that time that was probably not like I imagine you wanted a contract, but you weren't going to sit there and fight them over it because you were worried about the situation. And like,
well, yeah, exactly. So that was the first. I think that was like the first. Besides Elevate, which I don't know what they're doing these days. That was the first like org that I think I was playing for sure. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I didn't know any better.
Was that environment? So regardless of the contract situation and them not getting you a contract to pay you, was that environment vastly different to you as a player and your like progression? You felt moving from that era in 2016 to like that Splice time. Did it feel very different to you? Do you feel like you developed a lot more like that situation being on an actual team that could give out contracts but didn't give you one?
I guess looking back at it, yeah, because realistically that's playing with like a bunch of players that actually wanted to play with me and thought I was good, and then like also like that was probably like the first real team I guess that I was on, that was like a mixture of things, because I was like the team where I was playing with CLG before this, where I was a DPS player. Like, that team was, like, good and stuff, and I think a lot of those players went on to play professionally for a little bit, at least, like Yuma's 2 and stuff.
Well, you also had, I think you also had Minnie for a time who played a bit professionally, then now he's the coach for Boston, and he was the coach for LG as well before that. So
yeah, and I love, me and Minnie are great now, but I think at the time, like, they didn't think I was good, so that was, like, they just didn't think I was good. Back then, which is totally understandable. I mean, like, I don't hold anything against people that.
So there was a shift in 2017. Like Splice thought you were good.
Yeah, Splice thought I was. So I was like, she respects me, and,
but not good enough for a contract.
Wants me. Not good enough.
But not good enough for a contract.
I never even talked to the organization. I was just playing with the boys. So
yeah, but that's how it gets swept under the rug. I feel a lot is like for this esports stuff, which is like truly unfortunate. So you're with Splice for how long? What, a couple months? And then Congarna occurs, and it's a lot of the same players because Baby Bay's there, you're there.
Because that was when we got dropped.
Yeah, you got dropped, and you sort of made Congarna, and then of course, obviously, the Fortnite guy himself, Michael. So Congarna gets made, and this is the team. You're on Congarna for a long time, like throughout the majority of 2017, moving into 2018. Pre-Overwatch League. And you guys have ups and downs. I mean, at the end, you end up doing a lot better than, even though I would say my team did a little bit better than you pre-Overwatch League, then you kicked us out of Contenders. We lost to you guys, and you guys get Season 1 Contenders, and we did not.
Yeah. Yeah, we were a good
Did
good
it
team.
feel, since a lot of the same core was there from Splice, did you think that it was a very similar environment? Do you feel like there was a motivation as a player when you went from Splice to Congarna? Did your motivation change? Did the team motivation change? Or is it were you back to that struggle mentality of like, I need to get paid? Or is it like, we're just playing and we're being good?
So that was also to line it up with the storyline earlier. That was also when I got kicked out of my house. It was when around Splice, Congarna era. So at that time, I think looking back at it, it didn't seem that bad, but like I was actually like pretty depressed. I think I've never been depressed in my entire life, but I think if I could point out any period of my life that I was like legitimately depressed was at that time. Was not necessarily just because of the team, but also because the stresses, Overwatch League season 1's coming up. I need to get a team really bad. Like that was like, if you don't get a team in Overwatch League, you're just done, That's the way that we were all looking at it. And, it's like, I don't know if my teammates are going to stay with me into Overwatch League. I'm sure your team was thinking the same thing.
Well, I mean, we had a time, it was right before Season 1 started, I believe, or maybe at the end of Season 1, where we were going to merge our teams. Remember, because Bishu was trialing with Glads, Pooks was trialing, I think, for Glads at one point, Remix was trialing with Glads, Baby Bay was getting trials. Like, a bunch of the teams getting trials. Then there was sort of like, there was Deepa, who obviously was the coach of Congarna at the time, which a lot of people don't know, is that Deepa, the legendary God Emperor himself, was the coach of Congarna, and we were going to merge teams, but obviously that didn't come to be. And on the topic of Deepa, I feel, is that, did you think, because Deepa's had a lot of success with Gladiators.
Oh, no, this is what I mean when I say, like, I don't hold anything against people for thinking I was bad or whatever, It's like he had thought, like, Shaz is still in Overwatch League. Shaz is still really good.
Oh, you're taking the words out of my mouth. I wasn't going to say Deepa not picking you up for Glad. I wasn't even going to bring that up. But
Deepa knows that I hold this against him as a joke, obviously. But I still hold it against him that he didn't pick me up Season 1, obviously. Because he had the chance to bring me along. But, he didn't. So, fuck you, Deepa. No,
fuck you,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
My question was going to be, how do you think, considering the success Deepa has had in Overwatch League, because even though Gladiators haven't necessarily won anything, right, they've always been consistently very good throughout all three. We'll see for this season, right? But like so far, at least all 3 seasons. Did you see that manifested working with him in Congarna? Like back when you weren't getting paid, back when it was a very different style for Overwatch, there was no franchise system. Do you think Deepa helped you develop a lot as a player? Did you see that, like, the ability for him to be a very good team leader early on, or do you think he's changed a lot? Like, do you think he himself has evolved since moving on from Congarna and getting to Gladiators?
I mean, he might have changed from back then, but he's not a very, like, individualistic coach, you know what I mean? He's like a strategic guy, kind of. Like, he focuses on the macro. He could change, he could be different, but I mean, like, it's not like a head coach has to focus on individual play anyway. So I just kind of focused on myself. Like, if anything, because I worked with Junkbuck after this later on, we could talk about that later. But Junkbuck is a more individualistic coach. Deepa was not. So I think I focused more on myself back then, and he focused on the macro, and that was pretty much it. It's not like he helped me out in any specific way. He helped the team out,
So then it was definitely just sort of a guiding experience, but you wouldn't say you necessarily credit him directly with like your improvement.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, that was all me. Fuck him. No.
Okay. All right. So Congarna. So you're with Congarna for a while. You have Deepa. You have some other You have some other players that move on, like you said, the Gladiators. But one that has to be of interest that we have to talk about at least a little bit was Michael.
Okay.
Who is notorious for various reasons. Did you ever think when playing with Michael, because he did, even back when you guys were at your peak at a point and Michael was playing with you, Michael had a bad rep. Did you ever feel that from the inside of like, or do you think Michael ever benefited? Because a lot of players have that bad rep, playing ranked or public personas, but are great teammates. Do you think Michael fits into that category, or is he more of just like an unbelievable chaotic energy that would later become Fortnite guy?
Well, I mean, if he was good at the game, I think I wouldn't have any issues, but he just wasn't good at Overwatch.
Oh.
So. Well, no, like, it's not even like a joke. I gotta be honest. Like, he wasn't good. Like, we, like, knew that back then, and that's why we tried to do, like, there's the whole drama. People probably, it doesn't even matter now because nobody even remembers Michael for Overwatch. For Fortnite, obviously they do, because he's amazing in Fortnite. He's had an amazing content career. But in Overwatch, we were trying to get like Dalton for our like contenders games. Like imagine if we had Dalton instead of Michael. Like we probably would pop the fuck off. You know,
he was the best at pulse bombing Winston's I've ever seen. He was the
Oh,
best
you mean
at pulse
Michael, or are you talking
bombing.
about Dalton?
Michael, yeah, of course, he was the best tank
Michael-
pulse bomber of all time.
There is a conspiracy theory that he had a pulse bomb lock on his computer. We don't know to this day. I don't know.
People said there were fishy clips of him. And I saw the clips too.
Could that actually be a thing?
No. I don't think that was ever really. I don't really think that was ever. I saw the clips. It was really more just like mouse skipping and things like that, or like the replays being inconsistent. If Michael was cheating, then God help Michael. Then God help Michael if he was cheating, because that is insane.
The funny thing is, wait, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh no.
What, did I die out? No, I'm still here.
Boys.
No, I'm still
Damn
here.
it.
I'm still here.
Is the stream dead, dude?
The stream isn't dead.
We killed the stream, dude.
Dogman?
Hello. We killed.
Did I
did
DC?
Die. You died. Yes. You
oh,
just
interesting.
Passed away.
Well, okay, we're gonna continue like nothing happened. Okay, we're just gonna continue like nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. No Fs. We're good.
So we finished on the Michael topic about the pulse bombing, but yes, it would have been disastrous.
Oh yeah, if
was cheating.
My point is, like, looking back at it, if we had, like, Dalton's still insane, and even then Dalton was like peaking. Like, we probably could have made a bigger dent in contenders. Like, we beat you guys and Cloud9 with Michael did. Like,
that's pretty impressive, I have to say. I mean, Michael was a legendary gamer.
He's good. He was a great guy. I'm not saying he was a bad dude.
So do you think he was a good teammate? Do you think he was a good teammate or no? Would you say?
I think he definitely tried his hardest. I'm not gonna say that he didn't. He just like as a teammate, I think he would have been a better teammate if he stepped down. Like that was what I mean when we had this whole drama.
Oh, I do remember that now. I do remember that whole.
So we tried to get him to step down and still own the org, but I think he wanted like a part of our contenders paycheck, still, even when he wasn't playing, and I was like, no. It was just unlucky that he owned the spot, pretty much. Like,
which is something that's happened before too. We talked about it with McGravy as well and Envision, and like sometimes the guy that owns the slot,
was, in my opinion, that was 10 times worse than the what's it called? Splice stuff. Like, I would not getting paid in Splice was fine, I think, but like the roster could have changed or whatever, you know. Like we literally could, like, he pressured our dudes on the team to not drop him, pretty much, and like convinced them that he shouldn't get dropped. And it was like this whole thing, you know, where he didn't want to get kicked because he wanted to keep playing, but we wanted a better player. But then he was like convincing our teammates that he was still good.
Yeah, and he was the owner of the slot, so it creates all these complexities and things like that. Okay, so very mixed response there. So we have the Incarnate episode.
Great guy.
Made it through. Great guy. We've made it through season 1 of Contenders at this point. And then it comes out pretty much that you are not making Overwatch League for the first season, more than likely.
Yeah.
But it feels weird to me that when you're on a slot that did well in season 1 Contenders, that you also didn't get onto any academy teams like in 2018 right after that. Was it an issue you feel with scouting of yourself, or was there something else at play of like you had opportunities but you chose not to take them? Because if you're a top performer of one of the teams pre-Overwatch League and then the academy teams are made, a lot of those players still found their way onto academies.
Yeah. No, so pretty much what happened after that was, I think, like, the way I saw it is I had like every academy kind of offer. But like realistically, I didn't like pursue like any of them, kind of. The only one I went after was where Dalton was going, because Dalton, in my opinion, was like an insane player. So I kind of wanted to just play with him.
And he went to Toronto Esports, which is, again, Boston Academy.
Right, exactly. And I wanted to play with them. So I was trialing with Toronto for a spot which I had for like 3 months or something like that, like 2 months of just playing with them, and really nobody else. And then I found out, you know, they didn't want me anymore.
Was that when they picked up Shu? Was that or was that before that?
I think that was Goliath.
Goliath?
Like, back then. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think it was for him, and then like I wanted to keep playing with Dalton and then stuff, but I didn't anymore. So then at that point, I think Mayhem Academy was like forming, and then like I had the opportunity to make it. But the problem was, by the point of which that Mayhem Academy was being made, all the good players were kind of picked up. You know what I mean? So like I kind of knew that team was going to be trash. So I just didn't like pursue them that hard. You know what I mean?
So you chose to not take any academy offers pretty much because you're
overplaying with
them because you would rather have been on a better team.
Yeah, I don't like playing with bad teams. It's just not fun. Obviously, I mean, I don't know. I like winning. So
you didn't but just take it then into the mind, since you have been being paid this entire time, Dogman. Like this has been essentially 2 years of not being paid as a player. How were you just like how was your situation working out to where you could turn down these paid offers and still exist in this world without being a pauper?
I don't remember. How did I live, dude? How did I live? Maybe I'm not alive right now as we speak. No, I don't know.
You had to have lived with somebody, surely.
I think. Well, I was still living with Carter, I think, for a little bit, and then I think my parents like accepted me back for a tiny bit. So I was pretty much still living with Carter, I think, at the time though. But I was like streaming 24/7 because I didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen, and I was playing with teams and stuff every now and again, I think. But I was also focusing on my stream, so like I still had, livable Twitch income for sure. I spent my Twitch income on McDonald's every day, but it was livable. I wasted my paycheck on McDonald's, but it worked.
Okay, so pretty much you're saying at the time, after not getting paid for 2 years, and you had just about enough money for McDonald's. You still have just enough money for McDonald's that you were okay with turning down those academy offers for better teams.
Yeah, I would rather win and be a broke ass bitch than be somewhat well off for a couple months. Like that. If the risk, the reward to like, if you think about it, sure, it sounds dumb, but like realistically, would you rather ruin your reputation by playing with a bunch of shitters, or would you rather like have the chance to prove yourself and make it to Overwatch League?
I guess it depends on what point of your life you're at, right? I guess is that at that point you're what, 19-ish, 20-ish?
Yeah, it didn't matter what point in life I was in. I was not going to join a losing team.
Okay.
That's not my mindset.
Because plenty of players would rather have the stability and the money so they could then continue along further.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But you don't think that's worth it. You think for you at least, or maybe in general, that if you're trying to get into Overwatch League at the time or whatever goal you might be, it's better to pick a better team versus taking the paycheck to be stable, you think?
Yeah, if I'm ever playing professionally in my entire life, no matter what I'm doing, I want to play for a winning team. I'm not, even if it means sacrificing my quality of life outside the game. The only reason I play professionally is for one, clout, obviously, and then for two, I'm just kidding.
Of course, clout.
For one, just to win. I just don't want to. If you're playing professionally and not winning, what's the point?
So what would have happened though? Just hypothetically, right? What would have happened? Because I know we're not really thinking ahead. We're not really a thinking ahead crew right now. Is like, so hypothetically, what happened if before we get to LNL and get to all that? What happens if you don't get onto LNL and you don't have some success and you don't find talk to Brad and Kate and all those people and get picked up for Atlanta? Like, what would have happened then? Would you just continue to exist in contenders, just looking for good teams and not getting paid?
I would.
What would have been your threshold?
Either looking for new good teams or making my own. I mean, like the rock bottom for me is literally making my own team, and like I could do that. I think.
So was there a point that you would have said this is your cut and exit? Like at any point where you're thinking, okay, I need to start doing something, or were you prepared to?
Oh no, I was prepared to die.
Just do it. Just die on that hill. To die on the good team hill and continue to grind forever.
Yeah, I would have grinded forever, because I thought that I could make it. And I believed in myself. So, I mean, I think it sounds stupid or not, whatever. If you really think that you're good, but what if you're not good, But like, I thought I was good. And the reason I thought I was good is because I think enough people also thought I was good. Like, it's not like I was the only one telling myself I was good, Like, I also had like Dalton saying I was good, all these other players. Like, I also look for feedback constantly and look for criticism wherever I can. And all these players thought I was good. It's just nobody in the right places thought I was good in my head. So, like, sure, that sounds like silly.
No. That's I think that's perfectly valid because I think there's plenty of players that we don't even heard of, right? That flamed out because they didn't get the support they needed early, And they might not have been in the situation or the mentality that you had of, I'm going to grind forever. Maybe they physically couldn't grind forever for whatever reason it may be.
Fair.
But that is, I mean, that I would describe that. So you would say that your mentality of never settling was, would you think that was directly related to you eventually getting into Overwatch League and being the position you are now of like not settling for teams and rather to go for unpaid teams that are better?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like even now, like even last year, like in Overwatch League, when we played against Philly Fusion, like I just got absolutely fucking boomed that game. Like I got rolled like my ass off. And I was like, after that game, I'm like, there's no way I'm in Overwatch League after that. Maybe I am trash, you know? I was like actually telling myself that. But, you know, my team reassured me and I still was, you know, motivated to grind after this season or after last season. And kind of adapted, I guess, to the Overwatch League scenario. This is moving on to my past, but I think like overall, or sorry, future, but like overall, what I learned in Contenders and my motivations back then, you know, have helped me today. So.
Okay, so moving on past then, so the final team, sort of the unsigned team point for you is last night's Leftovers, and it actually has an incredibly stacked cast within that Contenders team because you had to play in trials. And then you got back into Contenders and NA Contenders. And you had on, you know, for staff-wise in particular, you had Brad, you had Silence, you had Legit RC, Kate, and Obisil. Kate went on to be the GM of Justice. Obisil was one of the coaches for Justice. Brad is obviously the head coach for Atlanta now. Silence is one of the assistant coaches, I believe. Isn't it Silence? I think so.
Yeah.
And then Legit has been running Atlanta Academy and also was at one point with Shock as assistant coach the season. Legit RC at one point joins that after being with Shock for a little bit, and also Brad because he was the head coach for Shock. How did was that? Because also I don't think you guys had incredible results necessarily as LNL. I don't think you guys ever really did have incredible results. Like looking back at your records at the time, you guys finished. I think you finished in trials first, and you finished in 2018. You finished like. I think it was like 5th through 8th, so somewhere between there. But yet from that team, 2 different expansion teams were made, like the core of them, with Brad and Kate and Silence. And do you think that was? Do you think having Brad there and in that team was really a huge reason why you went on later to go to Atlanta Academy? Do you think Brad finally recognized the potential that you yourself had been seeing? Was it really Brad the one that gave you that opportunity?
I think it was, mixture of things. I think definitely Brad had a huge part in, you know, believing in me and giving me, you know, a chance and stuff like that for sure. I think Brad and pretty much the whole coaching staff, I guess, for sure. But like, and the team, like realistically, it was a good mixture of everything. Like the team believed in me, Brad believed in me. It's not like some, you know, nepotism thing that you hear about. You know, it's like the entire team believed in each other, and Brad was a part of that wheel that believed in us. So it was just, I guess, a matter of time.
So you didn't think that Kate, because also since Kate was your manager and then was the GM for DC, did Kate ever reach out to you to go to DC when they were building that team, or was that more of a Wizard decision since he was the head coach for DC at the time?
I think there was 2 things. Kate wanted Chipsogen, actually. I think for that team. I don't know what happened with that, but she had this.
Well, she was not going to be able to get him. I can tell you that much. He is not able to be contacted, but that wasn't going to be happening.
I heard about the Forest and Shrooms thing with that last podcast.
First of all, that's Snillo. That's not Chips.
Oh,
that's Snillo, not Chips. But
well, he's on his own land.
He's doing his own thing, and he's not going to be able to be. I doubt they were going to be able to get him.
That's what I mean. So, like, I think she had her own fascination. That's the thing with all these like GMs and stuff in Overwatch League. They're all very like that's a good thing about like Brad is our head coach and he helps a lot with our strategy and stuff. And like outside of that, he's a very unbiased person. You know what I mean? Like if he was a GM, for example, and he's looking at players, he'll look at all the players like and give each player a fair shot and, you know, see what, you know, things they bring to the table and, you know, use the best player. But I think a lot of these GMs, just in general in Overwatch League, Overwatch Season 1, 2, and even 3 now, a lot of them have very fixated sights set on the players they want, you know what I mean? Instead of keeping their mind open. Which is, you know, if you get lucky and you pick a good player that your brain is fixated on, that's fine. But like if you're fixated on a player so much that you won't even look like right in front of you, then there's probably something wrong. So I think realistically she didn't see that I was good, and that's fair, I guess.
So really, what it sounds like it just comes down to Brad giving you the shot. Sephi, obviously. For people that don't know, Brad is Sephi, who was the head coach of Shock in season 1 and then the head coach of Atlanta now for season 2.
Yeah.
So really, it comes down to that. So, and you talk about that unbiased perspective that Brad has, because people have given him a lot of praise, myself included, as being almost more of a scout coach, like someone that's really good at seeing the potential and the scouts for players versus more of that strategic coach. Do you tend to agree with that, or would you think he actually is a little bit more involved with like the day-to-day, like how a team is approaching matches than people are saying, or would you put him more in the scout category?
No, he does that more than anything. I don't like, especially not like, it's just in the off season when he's focusing on scouting realistically, or when we need a player, like when DeFran was gone and we picked up Baby Bay. But besides that, it's not like he's out there scouting players 24/7. You know, he's our head coach. He's doing a lot of internal things for us to help prepare us for matches, including, you know, much needed discussions, like even now with what comps to run and all that kind of stuff. He does do a lot of that in our team, because right now in hero pools, it's important to be focusing on that stuff. So he heavily participates in those discussions and leads them as well.
Okay. So he's very much involved more than just the scout process. So, and he's brought you along. He saw the potential in you. So getting into Atlanta for the 2019 season, because you come in stage 1, is that Atlanta had Kodak. Do you feel that at the time when you get brought in and Kodak had been playing a bit, that was there a reason for why you get brought in? Was it because that they just felt you were a better fit for the team at that point? Did they feel that you were the right direction they needed to go? Or was there like other motives behind that? Or was it like a team chemistry thing? Was it a you specifically as a player thing? Was it a mixture of both?
Probably just a mixture of both. In my opinion, I think Kodak's better than me, and that's just how I look at things in a pessimistic view, I guess. But at the same time, I think he's a really talented player and really good mechanically, and has gotten better and better with communication as time goes on as well. So I think Kodak's a phenomenal player and even better than me. But I'm not like running the team, so I don't know. Well,
so I pretty much you're telling me you're just doing your job, huh? You get brought in to play, and that's about the extent of the thing that you have. So that
pretty much
it makes sense.
I don't decide, you know, who plays or not. I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, I gotcha. So then taking it back from that point where you've joined Atlanta, you're starting to play over Kodak a lot more. Is that so? You start out for the 2019 season. You start out pretty decently, 4-3, but then you guys nosedive, especially hard in stage 3 as the season went on. But it was GOATs the entire time, and stage 1 you guys had a reasonable performance.
Ooh, yeah, GOATs.
Yeah, what did you feel like it was like the meta evolution that really hurt you guys there? Was it you guys as a team not understanding as the stages went on with GOATs for Atlanta? What wrong? Was it a failure of, you think, the players, of the staff not recognizing certain things, or is it like everything combined? Was it a team chemistry issue? What happened to have it? Because also then following right after in stage 4, you guys went 7-0. And obviously it wasn't GOATs anymore, but you still have to have some pretty good coordination. You can't just, there's very few teams that are going to go from like being utter garbage to being really good. Obviously, like you guys in DC would be good examples though.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it was a team chemistry thing. Mainly, I guess it's just like we weren't really that great at Sombra GOAT specifically. Because stage 2 we weren't that bad. Or stage 3 we also had a lot of tough teams to play against too. So it was a mixture of, like, at least looking back out of it, like it's not like I'm looking for an excuse. It's just like that was the case. Like I think people would agree that stage 3, like it was stage 3, we had a lot of tough teams, right? Could you actually look that up or no?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I'm a PC. I can look it up. Let's see. So in stage 3. If we go to our regular season here, if we go to stage 3, you guys at the time,
we've had to play Shock twice, or no, NYXL twice and Shock once, I think.
You did, and then in addition to that, yeah, you had a lot of tough teams, honestly, there. So you had to play NYXL a lot, you had to play Shock a lot. So it was a lot of tough teams, but it still wasn't a great record, all things considered, though. Either way, right? Because if you're planning to be, and then especially since when you go into stage 4, you go 7-0, it seems kind of incredible that you can still be, have that abysmal of a stage, a 2-5 stage, and then go 7-0 the next, right? Because that would still require you to beat good teams the following stage.
Pretty much what happened is like at our homestand, the weeks leading up to our homestand, we were like, it was kind of just a momentum change, sure, like we had a really bad 0-5 start, or pretty much that's not even a start. That's literally midway. That's past the midway point of the stage.
Yeah.
But the point is, we at that point, at least as a team, decided, it's like we're not settling for anything. We want to win both these games at our homestand, take it game by game, as you should, I think, in Overwatch League, take it game by game. And once in my head, and I even told the team, I was like, once we win these 2 games, if we win both these games this weekend, we're going undefeated in stage 4. And the team as a whole genuinely believed that. We thought that if we won the 2 games at our homestand, we would turn it around.
So it was the mental. It was really about the mental, less so than the meta, less so than anything else. It was about the mental and the team.
I mean,
chemistry.
It was a mixture. It was definitely a mixture of things. Like I was ass in Sombra Goats. I fucking sure, I'm like realistically, it might be different from like a team's perspective, but I was fucking terrible in Sombra Goats, and I never fully adapted. So yeah, it definitely put that on me. But I think overall, in stage 3. It was definitely a mental thing for sure.
Okay. So you salvaged the season 2019 towards the end of it. You guys make playoffs. You even beat Shock with one of the worst C9s in history, a very infamous C9. Now, obviously, you can debate to what extent if you guys would have won otherwise, but it was possibly one of the worst C9s in history versus you guys in Shock playoffs. But then you lose to New York right after that. But it was still, considering the slump you guys had during the season, beating Shock in the playoffs at one point and getting that far was great. So then we get out of the season. We continue forward for the Dogman saga, which is World Cup 2019. And you had never been on World Cup before. And we get into another World Cup scenario here. And this year, obviously, was the miracle year for USA. What some would say is the miracle year, where USA won World Cup. They won it finally. It's been a while since overhyped US teams after getting stomped like UK the previous year with the same coach, with Aero, the same coach and a lot of the same players. And we get to 2019. And you're very public saying you didn't like how Aero did the process for 2019. And you felt like even though you played badly, because you did say you played badly in the tryouts, but other Atlanta players were really good, but they still won the World Cup. Yeah. Do you think you still stand on that of Aero didn't do due diligence or Aero wasn't very good? Or are those of your opinions at all? Or is that just how you're feeling about World Cup 2019 as in you just felt like Atlanta was overlooked?
If I'm gonna be honest, like nowadays, I don't really give a shit.
It was just in the past. It was like you were just heated about it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, in the moment of anything, when you're, when like you're denied your job application, you're gonna be salty. So I was a salty fuck for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
It was just a heated gamer moment. Like you were just salty. You have no other thoughts. You don't hold anything else against Aero. It was literally just you were pissed you didn't make World Cup.
Yeah, I was pissed. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
That's a very simple. Hey,
anything else?
Honestly, understandable.
I was a very salty man.
Very salty man.
Still am every now and again. I'm still salty.
Hey, I had to listen to Super Bitch for like 3 years about World Cup, so don't worry. That's okay.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
I've heard a lot of bitching about World Cup. And then he wasn't even gonna like do World Cup this year even because of his wrist problems. I told him he should do it, and then he can rest on his laurels, and then he wins. So I'm owed a lot of that money. I feel for Super.
I mean, let's be real. Do you think? Okay, question, Avast. Do you think if Gator was playing instead of Super, do you think they still would have won? Do you think USA still would have won? Like, let's be real. Korea, if we're gonna be honest, Korea was not as stacked as they were the previous year. Not the whole anything against Team USA.
I don't even think. I also don't think Korea. I don't even think it was an issue of them being stacked as well. I think they just didn't really. Their mindset and their grasp of the meta wasn't as good as it was in previous years either.
But wasn't their head coach Krusty?
Yeah, it was. But I mean, I'm not one to suck Krusty's dick. I say Krusty's very, very good, but I don't think Krusty's perfect. two different things. Krusty's very good, but you can still fuck up even if you're still Krusty, 100%.
Okay, but the entire coaching staff is SF Shocks, right? Like,
yeah, and you can still fuck up. It wasn't entirely because Junkbuck was working the USA.
Right.
Yeah, so Junkbuck was working the USA. So they didn't have Junkbuck. I think they still had 9K as well, I believe, who then went on to go be with Paris. But you can still you can be the best coaches in the world, and you can screw up your scouting, and you know, not maybe just get a wrong read on the meta for what you feel that squad is.
Yeah, it definitely is hard, especially with the Korean scene for sure.
And they had their own problems as well, like with their housing and practice situation earlier before World Cup for Team Korea, Team South Korea. But I think that. I think it's a tough call, right? I think Gator's really, really good, but I think I think Super in particular brought an element of synergy that maybe Gator might not have for that particular squad. But I don't think it's unfair to say they could have won with Gator too. I don't think it's unfair to say that.
If I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure Gator told me he was literally playing Hog in the tryouts, so there was no way. Because, I mean, realistically, everybody knew it was going to be a lock for Super probably anyway, I guess.
I don't think it was unfair, though, to say that Gator could have won with that team, too. But I think it's also just...
Oh, Gator's just a massive troll. I'm pretty sure, like, maybe, like, no, he wouldn't knock him. He knew he wasn't going to get picked up over Super. I mean, that's just what's going to happen with Team USA and, you know, Super specifically. Like, Super's a really good player. I'm not holding anything against him. I also just, you know, Gator... I think, in my opinion, they probably still would have won. I mean, you have Sinatra on Doomfist. That's all you need, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah,
and make the rest of the roster
and
around
Team
that
South
guy.
Korea definitely did make some interesting
carry,
decisions with their roster and like how they wanted to play. So it was really weird. Like, so I don't necessarily disagree with you, but it is like a tough call to make.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like I'm explaining, I guess, that in the moment, I don't think I was wrong. I think I was just salty. But I was salty. And it didn't matter what I said. That's pretty much what happened.
Do you think that's going to hurt you in the long run? Because you're very outspoken at times. And you're also one of the biggest proponents of, like, we always have these discussions, which I think are just such stupid fucking discussions. But we have them all the time of, like, toxicity and shit talk in Overwatch League. And it's like, and you're one of the few players that will go out and do it very consistently because a lot of players feel like they don't want to get roasted by fans or by colleagues or whatever. And you just fucking do it. Do you think that has actually impacted you at all?
Oh, it's helped me, if anything. I mean, just look at Stephen A. Smith, bro. That guy's fucking... I wish I was as stupid as him, you know? Like, that guy's out there yelling his ass off. But you would argue
it's a different role, right? Bro. Because isn't he more of a commentary, like an analyst type of role than a player?
It doesn't matter what role you're in. If you're spewing shit randomly and you have the platform to do it, you know, people are going to fucking laugh at you. And that's just how it is, bro. And I don't really trash talk that much anymore because... I just don't feel like it. It really is just me. The only reason I did it was not for anything in specific. It's just I like to. It's just how
you just like the trash talk. That's how you thought about it, and you just said it.
I just spewed at the top. Whatever was at the top of my mind.
Okay.
For better or for worse, it was fun, and I don't know. Now I just don't have that same fire to trash talk. So you're not going to see me trash talk this year unless I somehow feel some random dose of testosterone injected in my fucking arms.
You get high test.
Like really fucking pissed off at fucking Jonak for some reason. And I'm just going to be like, Jonak, come over here and fucking... I don't know, dude. I just like say some stupid shit.
So, do you think that's a discussion that needs to be had with Overwatch League? Because you've clearly seen discussions. You've probably been. I think you've been a center point for it a couple times. I think it's the dumbest discussion on earth. Like I don't even know why we talk about it, but it's like people are like, we need more rivalry and trash talk. Do you think that's something that's actually a problem, or is it really just a manufactured problem because people want to see players like you just get pissed on Twitter and like the fun that comes with that? Do you think that actually matters? There's various sides to both. Is it even a discussion worth having? Should players just do whatever they want and we just say, fuck it, they're going to trash talk or not?
I don't know. I mean, with my personal opinion with it, I focus on myself these days. You know, like whether or not it affects the league positively or not is not really my end goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the discussion can be had. I don't think it's completely stupid. Like I'm sure trash talk from me or from anybody else in the league has helped the league or inspire people or was at least entertaining. That's definitely like true. All these things are true, but like to hold it like it's some fucking majestic thing that you just can't lose. Like it doesn't really matter that much. If Overwatch is a bad game, it's just a bad game. You know what I'm saying? Like trash talk or whatever ain't gonna save it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Overwatch, the game itself, is what drags people to Overwatch League. You know, it's not the trash talk or anything like that. And if you're relying on that, then God help you. But I don't think Overwatch League is relying on my trash talk. You know?
Yeah, understandable. So we've gone through the 2019. We've hit 2020. We're getting close to wrapping now, Dogman. You'll be free soon. Okay. And that
I didn't even realize how long have we been going.
We've been about an hour.
Oh shit.
A little over an hour. Yeah, time's been flying, so we've been having fun.
Yeah, I have to pee.
Okay, well we're gonna finish it up. Don't worry, we're gonna finish it up very soon. So you get into 2020, and obviously all this COVID stuff has been happening. We've seen very few games, but you guys have played more games than most. Honestly, at this point, you've played 3. And what did you feel the perspective of? Did hero pools really? Because you're 2-1 right now. You've lost once to Paris Eternal, and it was kind of a bad loss too. It was not a great loss. Did you feel at that time that hero pools and the introduction of them has created this instability? Because at the time, you guys were very much in a double shield. You were playing a lot of double shield for your team, and Paris played a lot more of like a dive centric with like a Rein Diva and things like that. How has hero pools affected you guys? Do you think it played into your loss at all versus Paris, or was that just you just not knowing how to play the game that day, which happens? Sometimes teams just shit the bed when they get onto the stage.
I don't know. I think on the payload maps we got a little rolled. But I think that first Koth was definitely at least winnable, and then we won Hanamura. There's a mixture of things. I think realistically, if you look at the Paris game versus versus Fusion, right? Paris still won, right? Paris still won that game, and I think a large part of it was also map pulls. Like I think realistically, the maps that were played in the Fusion game against Paris were better maps for us. You know what I mean? So I think like realistically, from a statistical standpoint, we played our worst maps against Paris, and still put up a decent fight. So I think realistically, hero pools
didn't really factor in there.
Didn't factor in. I think realistically we were just bad at the maps.
Do you think hero pools will factor in at all? Like as a competitor, do you think hero pools are going to drastically hinder or help teams week to week? I've heard sentiments from coaches that it will. Do you agree with that at all? Do you think the better team will always win, or is hero pools too? It's like too random. It's too wonky, you know? Or is it something?
I don't know
good?
I don't know. In my opinion, if you get way too caught up in it, you'll probably just straight up lose no matter what. So realistically, the best way to look at it is just to consistently get good at whatever comps you're playing, suboptimal or optimal, until the point comes of which a team just wrecks your ass completely, and then you have to play something else or whatever. I mean, hero pools are definitely impacting it that way, but I think the better team probably will still get a dub.
Do you think you guys as a team, with you also still being on there and Kodak also making the return to the main roster, do you think you're a team that's very poised for success this year with everything? And also that includes now, since we moved to an online format, which has pushed all these games back, do you think you'll still be a team that can have the flexibility and roster depth that is necessary, but also perform online? Because being online versus on stage are two very different things. Sometimes some teams describe themselves as stage teams, like we perform on stage, not online, and other teams are the inverse, where they're online versus stage. Do you think your current roster and your mindset as a team has gotten better and is at a point where you can do better this year? Or do you feel like it's still sort of unknown because so few games have been played?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the entire team at least wants to, give it our hardest and try to win. I think we're in a better position to win now than we were last year for sure. We have great additions in pretty much every slot on our roster. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we're in a position to do better than last year for sure.
And as sort of a getting close to our final talking point, Atlanta Academy. Atlanta Academy recently announced that they're going on hiatus. They're done for the time being, which drops the number of Academy teams, in NA contenders from Overwatch League teams down to a very small amount. I think it's 3 total right now, with between Boston, Envy, and Montreal Rebellion, who's the Academy team of Toronto.
Ooh. Okay.
And without Atlanta Academy, you wouldn't be where you are today. In fact, a lot of your players, with like Gator, Hawk, Kodak, Fire, or not so much Fire, but all these players that I just listed would not really be in Overwatch League or had the same stability in the path into Overwatch League they've had. Do you have any insight as to why that could have happened? Was it just the team changing? Do you think that's a bad thing that Atlanta Academy's gone now, or is it something that's necessary because Contenders needs to change? Like, because without it, I would argue that you and a lot of other players wouldn't have the stability necessary to get into specifically Atlanta, at least.
I guess with specifically Atlanta, it does suck to not have an academy team that you can consistently rely on. But the thing is, I guess it's different now because we have 12 players. So if we want to do in-houses or whatever, we're fine. But like beforehand with our academy team, we had a really stacked academy team, and they were insanely good. So they were really good practice. And we scrimmed them consistently, and they helped us get better ourselves. So it's just good to have a really good academy team. And I think now our academy team, or at least what the last iteration was, it just kind of too many pieces were getting ripped off constantly, So
it wasn't going to return to its former glory necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. It's too difficult to kind of keep doing that consistently, the way I see it. Like, you can't just keep getting Gator, Funny Astro, Kodak, and all these players on your academy team, along with Lenny and Saucy, which I still think, or Lenny is sugar free, by the way.
I know him like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sugar. So Sugar and Saucy are still amazing players, and I don't think that this recent season of Contenders will hinder the reputation. I think yeah, exactly. They had a bad season, and the team is just no longer, which is just how it be, I guess. If you don't, it's hard to consistently be great for sure.
So you think if you're not consistently great, you just shouldn't have an academy team?
I don't know. Look at Boston. I mean,
well, I mean, you could argue that Boston is still making money from it, even though they're really bad. Yeah, not this year, but previous years. They farmed out a lot of players.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, but the problem is that all those players are gone, and now you just have a bunch of, I don't know, just not Korean players.
So you think that the talent is? Great. So are you trying to say that talent has been drained? That there is no talent left to fill them, so academy teams are just not worth running?
I don't know. I think that academy teams are a great place for, players to potentially, I don't know, prove themselves for long enough. Like, it definitely gives stability. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just think if you're a great player, you won't need an academy team to be great,
So they should all have your winner mindset, and they don't need the academy, right? They don't need it.
Okay, well, now this made me sound like a prestigious douchebag. Listen,
no, it's the opposite of prestigious, because a prestigious douchebag would say, you must have academy, right? Because or else you won't be elite like me. But you're saying let's all wrestle in the mud and dirt, and the best will emerge.
Regardless, I am getting a paycheck now, so it's not like I'm in a position to talk for them. So at the same time, like, who knows how terrible it is to be without an academy team. I mean, I don't. It definitely sucked when I didn't have one, but at the same time, if you have the passion and motivation, you should be focused on what you can control. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you're too focused on the fact that you're not on an academy team instead of looking at higher goals like Overwatch League, then you have no place in Overwatch League. You know what I mean?
Understandable.
So just if you're looking for paycheck to paycheck from academy team to academy team, instead of looking at a paycheck from Overwatch League, I mean, I guess more power to you. It's just look at Overwatch League. That should be your end goal,
All right, well, that's pretty much going to be it. Guys, by the way, if you've been noticing that his screen's been flickering on his glasses, he's been playing Conan Exiles the entire time.
Was that bad? Was that bad, dude?
So so if you notice that, that's what he's been doing, and all the clicking and clacking is that. But that's okay. That's fine. It's still very cognizant answers. I mean, I just thought it was funny.
No, dude.
I just thought it was really funny.
I didn't know you could hear my fucking keyboard.
Oh,
dude.
yeah, but it was really, really funny.
But God damn it, dude.
That's the interview. I think we had some great points.
Dude, don't end it, dude. Don't end this podcast.
Some great insights. Well, you have to go pee. You're shaking like a. I can tell that you have to go pee, dude. I can tell.
No, that's because I'm angry at you, dude. God,
no, this is before I called you.
It's gonna make me look like a fucking freak, dude.
That's fine. A freak. That's fine. That's if you're looking like a freak, that's just extra branding. That's just extra branding for yourself.
Don't watch this podcast.
Don't watch. Well, first of all, you don't watch podcasts. You listen to them, Dogman. So.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's Hero Select. If you want to follow Dogman on Twitter or watch his Twitch stream, because he streams a lot. It's linked below him there. This will be up on YouTube soon. It'll be up on all the podcast sites where you can listen to it soon enough. I appreciate the time, Dogman. It was some very good insight into you as a player and a career and all this things like that. Any final thoughts to round it off?
I farmed a lot of Stone and Conan and Iron, so I'm happy.
Excellent. Well, that's it, guys. Hope to see you guys on the YouTube and podcast. Look for it there. I'll put
Thanks,
Bye-bye, everybody.